You meet with the minutes that you have to do, so you're going to do it on the floor?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what Josephine requested.
Okay. So ordinance number, Josephine, what number are we starting on again?
14.
14, I didn't write it down. So I'll take 14, from what I've heard, that it's the confirmation of Joe Gelati, replacing Don Sheehy as the city engineer. It's the same contract, I'm guessing.
Same contract, except that it's $3,000 less in the
Less.
retainers, I believe. Is that
Correct.
correct?
So, do you guys want to go to 3 reads on that? Any opposition to it?
I do not, I want to have us stay at first reading on that.
Why?
I've read through the contract, there's some things I have wanted to look at some more, so that's all.
It's literally identical. The red line version just substitutes out Joe's name, and like the mayor
That's
said,
fine, there are
it's
some things
$3,000.
I'm comparing it to, Mr. Gadetti's.
Have you gotten those questions over, so you could have had them before tonight?
Well, I have just been finishing reviewing this, it's a lot of material.
All right, she has the right to see it at first read. Dave, ordinance number 15, do you mind taking that one? That is referring to the peddlers and solicitors that Mark wants to comment on.
Yes.
First read.
Yeah, so this is an amendment, obviously, to the entire chapter governing solicitors, peddlers, and canvassers. It reinstitutes some of the old provisions that we had and adds some new ones. Basically, the effect is to require registration for peddlers and solicitors, and once that registration is approved, there are certain things that they have to submit to get approved in the first place. Then there's restrictions on how they can peddle, solicit, or canvass. There's also a provision for a no-knock registry, which is new. So residents can call in and say, you know, I don't want any peddlers, solicitors, or canvassers coming to my residence. That list, we have a provision there to be updated once a year to be compliant with current case law. And residents can also place a sign on their
I thought
on
they were
their house
required to do that.
Yeah, that's one of the provisions.
Is
They're
that-
required. Let me ask a question, there was something about oil and gas and leases specifically.
We specifically include in there people who are soliciting for oil and gas wells and leases.
We
So
have-
that's just a common thing that has occurred over the course of history.
Well, I just leased my half-acre lot for $1 million.
It happens, it happens.
Does that include like Jehovah's Witnesses and
Yeah, well, it sounded like
As
it.
canvases? So if you have a thing on the door, they just move on right on by? Okay.
But I wondered about that because they show up a couple times a year.
So, and this is
But
somewhat directly, somewhat indirectly related to the active environmental lawsuit from last year. And so if you wanted to get into the specifics of the case law, I'd recommend an executive session at the next meeting for it if you want.
Yeah, okay,
So
we
let's
can hold
keep this
it.
at first read. We'll have the session when we're a
Right.
full council, and then we'll go from there.
Right.
Okay.
Quick question, where does it put political solicitation? Are
That would fall under
included
the
in this?
canvassing.
Okay.
Because you're not, the peddling is primarily geared towards the sale of wares. Solicitation.
Well, I asked that question myself because I could see that we would have a list of residents that would say they want to be on the no-knock list. Then we would publish their names, so that means that any candidate running for office can't go and knock on their door.
Well, traditionally, if I see it, I don't knock on it.
I know, but my point is, it's kind of, they wouldn't want their name on the list, is my point.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's some
anybody who says no
exceptions.
soliciting, you just don't knock on.
There's some exceptions for like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, things of that nature, charitable.
Yeah, well,
Canvassing.
let's have a look at it.
Yeah, we're doing first reading.
Moving on to number 16. Ms. Hall, you mind taking that one?
Yes.
That is the stormwater, cohesive stormwater management.
That's 17. You say 16?
It's a brand-new chapter that's currently,
This is 16. 17 would be the language on 23.
The 16 is the stormwater management, 17 is erosion.
16.
Am I right? Okay, yes, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's at 16. All
I
right.
know, I'm going crazy.
And Joe, do you want to speak onto that?
Yeah, sure, I can. Really, Chapter 920 that we're creating and 923 that we're amending really kind of go hand in hand. These are requirements of the Ohio EPA that all local municipalities update and or create these chapters for their code. Gets us into compliance with the Ohio EPA.
Is there any haste to get this done?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've asked that we do it as soon as possible.
Can we have a work session? This stuff is extremely detailed.
Yeah, could we take all three of them, do all three as a first reading, and then
Yeah.
discuss them, because being stormwater, and
That's
there's a
what-
particular person that will be at those meetings.
That's what I had in mind.
Yeah.
And so I had 17 going to Miss Anakin, and I was gonna take 18.
All right.
So
And then we're gonna keep all of them at first read.
Right.
Are we gonna set a work session then, is that a suggestion?
I'm hoping we're going to on
So we
this.
have to wait for, I'd wait for, yeah, to set that,
We could,
Just do it in like an hour before the
right,
regular meeting.
our regular meeting, we can do a regular work session.
A regular.
Start at 6 instead of 7:15.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
Do you wanna make that motion?
Well, no, you don't need a motion.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Just set
Just wanna set it?
Just get noticed.
It's not a motion.
So the next meeting, when's 23rd?
It is the 23rd, yes. There's a finance meeting on the 16th, so.
Right, and the
That's
regular
supposed to be-
council's the 23rd.
So we're gonna do it 23rd at 6
Right.
with the work session, all right. Okay, and then there's one motion. I'll take that. Is there any other motions and comments before we get started out on the floor?
I have one question. I saw that there was an advertisement for the building officer.
Yes.
What's happened there?
Bob Rodick, who, as you know, has been a part-time
Yes, I know.
building inspector with us since we started last year. He's got 2 or 3 other communities that he services as well. And he feels it's a little bit of an injustice that he continue on with Macedonia where he can't
Alright.
give 100%.
I understand.
So,
He feels uncomfortable, that's all.
well, yeah, I mean, I think he's been retired for quite some time. And he's given us plenty of time, obviously, to find somebody.
Right, okay. I'm just curious because I hadn't heard anything before. Okay.
I don't have anything. So,
Okay.
rhythm breaks. Cool. Yeah, I'll start on time.
Yeah, for once here.
The hour is 7:30, and this is a regular scheduled Macedonia council meeting. And I would ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Bilkey.
Here.
Mr. Molnar. Oh, how did I do that? Mr. Engel.
I am here.
Ms. Hannikin.
Here.
Mr. Molnar. And Ms. Tully. Here.
I think that Mr. Molnar, unfortunately, he has asked to be excused this evening due to the fact that it was his wife's birthday, and he was obligated to take her out to dinner. So it was a choice between coming to a Macedonia council meeting or taking his wife out to dinner. So what choice would you have made?
I'd come to the council meeting. Mike, better yet, my wife would ask me to go to the council meeting.
All right, at this time, we'll have the invocation and pledge of allegiance thereafter, and I'm going to call on our fine chaplain, Tom O'Brien. Please rise.
Gentlemen, please uncover, and with bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty Father, as we assemble together this evening, we ask for your guidance, and let us be ever mindful that our council members are here to provide those services to meet the needs of our community. With your loving hands, guide our city council to be open to new ideas and to work together for the common good that serves all the citizens of our community. And we ask that our citizens be respectful of our leaders who work tirelessly to resolve the problems that face our community. And lastly, O loving Father, give comfort to our neighbors who may be less fortunate than ourselves, and help those who suffer both physical and mental disabilities. Amen. And now facing the American flag, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain.
Okay, the first item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes of our November 10th, 2016 and January 12th, 2017 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve both sets of minutes as submitted by the clerk of council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
I just have a couple of amendments to the minutes for November 10th, 2016, which I've sent to the clerk earlier, but I'll read them. Line 458, where there is a statement that it is inaudible, it should be replaced with responded, it is a lie that I said that. And line 486, the inaudible phrase should be replaced by a snake.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bilkey?
Without being in context, I'll vote yes and defer to my colleague.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
I also have to defer. I don't remember it, and I did go back to watch the tape, so yes.
Okay, the motion's carried. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation, which I'll read at this time. It's Prostate Cancer Proclamation. It's from the Mayor of Macedonia's office, and it says, whereas prostate cancer constitutes 19% of all cancer diagnoses and 8% of all cancer deaths. And whereas in Ohio, an estimated 5,840 new cases of prostate cancer and an estimated 1,020 deaths will occur. And whereas men with relatives, father, brother, son, with a history of prostate cancer are twice as likely to develop the disease. And whereas veterans are 1.5 times more likely to get prostate cancer. And whereas prostate cancer is most commonly diagnosed cancer in America, men, and the third leading cause of cancer death behind lung and colon cancer. And whereas this year approximately 161,360 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in the United States alone every year. That's one every 3.3 minutes, and roughly 26,730 will die this year from the disease, which is one man every 20 minutes. And whereas 1 in 8 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer, African American men are at the highest risk for the disease with a rate of 1 in 6 men. African American men are 2.3 times more likely to die from the disease. And resolved, all men are at risk for prostate cancer, and we encourage the citizens of Macedonia to increase the importance of prostate screenings. And I really believe in that, by the way. As you get older, you should certainly take and get tested regularly, or annually at least, because your prostate does grow. There's been a lot of awareness on TV about that. So it's executed this date, and we will send this on. So thank you. Next item is pending and/or new legislation. There were no public comments, so therefore we will move right on to the next item here.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 14, 2017, for first reading by title only.
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Joseph Gelati, P.E. of the Chagrin Valley Engineering LLD as the engineer for the city of Macedonia.
Yeah. The only comment I would make is that we've had Chagrin Valley as our engineering firm, and Don Sheehy was the lead engineer. However, Joe has been doing most of the work. This new contract for this year is $3,000 less in the retainer this year than it was last year. Other than that, the language is exactly the same. No changes other than Joe Gelati, who, by the way, is a Macedonia resident and a stakeholder in our city, which is absolutely excellent to have an engineer that means that when he pulls out of his drive and off of his street, he's constantly looking at problems, which is great. So anyhow, hopefully by the next council meeting, we will get it approved. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 15.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 15 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance amending Chapter 761 of the codified ordinance of Macedonia's codified ordinance pertaining to peddlers and solicitors.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 16.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 16, 2017 for its first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance creating Chapter 920 of the City of Macedonia's codified ordinances relative to comprehensive stormwater management.
Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 17.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 17, 2017 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance amending Chapter 923 of the City of Macedonia codified ordinances relative to erosion and sediment control.
Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 18.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 18, 2017, first reading by title only.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Summit Soil and Water Conservation District and the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for assistance in implementing soil and water conservation measures.
Okay. Motions and other legislative actions.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion. It's authorizing the fire chief to arrange disposal of fire department property, including 25 pants and 19 coach, which are obsolete and of no value.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is correspondence from the clerk.
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay. Mayor's report, I'll just indicate that the revenue for Mayor's Court this month was, or for the month of January, I'm sorry, was a total revenue of $34,848.04. And the only other item that I would comment on in Mayor's report is that obviously we're back to the ballot come May, and we're asking for a 0.5% increase, if you will, given the fact that in June of 2017, 0.25% is going to fall off, and we will be then at a total of 2.25. What residents are paying today, they will pay tomorrow. They will have a ability to secure an applied refund for everything over 2%. I cannot understand why anybody would not want to vote for this, because it's a absolute no impact upon the residents of our city. They're paying what they're paying now, and they will see no difference. And we have, if you will, $41 million in infrastructure that is needed for this community over the next 5 years. $20 million in road repairs immediately. As I've indicated before, there are going to be no pay raises this year, given the fact that we have no money to give pay raises. Our budget is as tight as a budget can possibly be. I had $0 last year in capital improvements for 2016. This year, based on our proposed budget that we're coming up with, we'll have $140,000. And I can tell you that $140,000 in a budget for a city this size is nothing. Alarming, too, is that if we continue at the rate we're at, we'll only have somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 and some thousand in carryover, which is a little bit alarming to me. It's not good and responsible to have such a low carryover. The only thing we can hope for is that perhaps our income will come in a little bit stronger this year than it did last year. I've said this before as well, that the city only receives about $1.5 million in real estate taxes. That includes every resident in the city and every building, commercial, industrial. And I've indicated as well that it costs the city $2,900 to provide services to each and every single-family home in the city. And we only collect on an average of about $300 from that home. So the rest of the money that services this community comes from income tax. And so therefore, without the income tax and without that revenue stream, we will have to, no question asked, cut services. And that's not something that I cherish to do. You know, our community was ranked very high in Northeast Ohio, with amongst all other communities being 23rd wealthiest communities. I think our residents have, unfortunately, have been somewhat spoiled in the fact that they have not had any increases in their real estate taxes since the 60s. The city has maintained itself on the growth that it's had over the last 25 years. We should have taken the bull by the horn many years ago and put a tax increase on both either real estate or income tax, as we're currently trying to do, as the past administration tried to do. It's the only avenue that we have other than to start cutting services. Do we cut police? I can't begin to think how that would affect our community. Do we cut fire? Certainly we don't want to do that. You know, when you call and ask for an ambulance or a rescue squad because you're having a heart attack and you don't get one, that wouldn't be a good thing. So what's a life worth? Or if your house is being robbed and you call for a policeman and you don't get one there, and that wouldn't be a good thing either. So we have to maintain a certain level of services, and I believe that we provide that to our community. And it's time for the residents to step forth and support their community. I'm not blowing smoke up here. I'm not telling fibs, and I don't think that this council that voted to put this on the ballot are telling any lies either. The facts are the facts. The numbers are the numbers. If anybody can come up with a way to provide services to this city without increasing the income tax or some other source of revenue coming in, please step forward and give me the answers to that, because there is none. There is absolutely none. Yeah, could we go back and start cutting services? Yes, you could. Is that what the residents of this community want to have happen? Do you want residents to start moving out of this community and moving to communities that are more supportive to their community? I mean, we looked at Solon. I mentioned this not too long ago, where Solon, they put an issue on the ballot. They've got $25 million in reserves, and yet they put an issue on the ballot because they needed some new cars, and their voters pass it. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, that's like, there's a community that supports their community. You know, and we need to step up to the plate, folks. Otherwise, as I said at our last meeting, we are going to be in dire trouble in this community. And we will be like other communities that I don't want to make mention of. And many of our community people have moved from those communities to be in Macedonia. So, smell the roses. I can only take you to water, but I can't make you drink. So, please hear what I'm saying. We have no other choice. Thank you. Committee reports.
I have one committee report. The Finance Committee had their first meeting last week to talk about the operating budget. As you just heard, there are 0 raises for any employee within that budget. We also looked at the operating just for certain departments. The department heads are presenting their needs. We have the rest of the departments next week on the 16th. We saved some of the fun ones, the fire service and service department, who has probably the biggest needs that we haven't been able to fulfill. We also took a look at the health benefits. The projected increase is not what was agreed upon, and I want to thank the Health Benefits Committee as well as our HR director who worked to find us a plan that would actually be, yes, there's an increase, but it's not the increase that we would have had if we had stayed with the old plan. So there was due diligence in trying to save money. So next up, then after that, we will have 2 meetings to talk about capital. The budget is being based on the fact that there is no levy passing, so that in June our income would drop to 1.75%. We have to do that because we don't know what's going to happen with the levy. But I will echo the mayor's comments. Please think long and hard about the services you provide and what you would like to see occur. Last and not least, the finance meetings are open to the public. They're held in the room. You're more than welcome to come and listen to what the departments have to say about what they need. We also are not adding new people. There has been a cap that there will be no additions, so in the service department, who is still down quite a few, we're not adding. So thank you, and next meeting is the 16th in there at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports? Okay, hearing none, going to department reports. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Street tree trimming has been completed on Atterbury and Redbush, and we're going to be moving over to the Newport area, Crestline, Elizabeth, and Merline. And we have many developments to go to, but we're just trying to chip them away one at a time. Our pothole patching, the ongoing saga continues. We are out around the city, concentrating on the mains, and we're going to be focusing in the industrial roads also, because looking at them today, they were in much dire need of patching. Looking at about 9 tons of material could be used just in the industrials alone, just gauging on the size of the holes. And I also want to give a little bit of a history. You guys would remember this. 1994 in Macedonia. Things were starting to grow then, were they not? We were expanding. The town was 121 lane miles that the city maintained at that time. We would run 6 plow trucks at that time, 6 large trucks, 2 1-tons salting, and 2 pickup trucks back plowing and helping with cul-de-sacs and parking lots. Fast forward now to 2017, we're at 161 lane miles. We run 6 trucks, and that's all. 1 low pro and manpower is available to do the parking lots of the city properties. We're still from the 90s. We were known for our road clearing back then. We took pride in it. Residents saw it. It's not there now. I know this because I'm getting phone calls from residents. Why isn't my street done yet? And how many times can I keep telling them? It's because we have more lane miles. We're doing more. We have to concentrate on the mains. That's our number 1 priority. Sometimes we have to tandem them with 82 being as wide as it is now. At one point, that road was almost 5 miles long. It's now over 11 lane miles. So sometimes we have to run 2 trucks on there to keep it clean. So that means somewhere something is getting neglected and not being taken care of. Just want to give it a little history. I like looking into this. It's amazing to see that we still do what we do with the same number. We are getting it done. It takes a little bit longer, but I want to get that out there so residents can understand, be a little patient, know why it's taking us so long to get there to do the roads. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that report. No question that operating with 16 versus when I was in office before we had over 20.
And I know that because I won't say my age, I was young, but I was a part-time employee here at that time when we used to run those.
Yeah.
Had to rub in that age.
Yeah. Joe.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. Just want to reiterate the situation with 883 Iroquois. We've talked about this in the past. We're still working with Summit County Land Bank on the demolition of the house, so they've indicated to us that they will indeed take care of the demolition of the house for us, free of charge to the city. We're working on the final agreement with that so that we can proceed with that house demolition. And the good news there is, of course, it's less money that we will need to spend out of our community cost share account to build the retention pond feature that we're planning on doing a little bit later this year. So just to keep you guys updated on that. And that's really all I have, Mayor.
Well, just to add to what you may have forgotten or didn't want to, or didn't remember to say this, but we had a meeting yesterday with ODOT, and it was a very good meeting, by the way. They basically gave us approval for the curb cut out onto Route 8 from the crossings. Now, that's taken a whole long time to get that accomplished. And they came armed with a number of people from the State of Ohio Department of Transportation, and we thought it was going to be the worst, but the outcome was very, very good. I'm calling a meeting of all of the property owners that are in the crossings to see how we can then accomplish some sort of an assessment. I've already got probably 4 or 5 on board already, property owners that are willing to take on the assessment. There's a number of issues why this is so important, by the way. One is that it will alleviate traffic at the intersection of 82 and 8, which there's approximately 35,000 cars at that intersection daily. There are 7,500 cars daily that enter into the crossings, and there are 7,200 cars coming out of the main entrance at the crossings. What we don't know is what happens at the other 2 entrance points, which are by Giant Eagle and behind. So we're going to ask AMATs if they will, or even the state, we asked them yesterday, as to whether or not they would go out and do an additional traffic study and at least traffic counts for us. And so we're waiting on to hear whether or not that can be accomplished, because we think that those numbers may show an increase of numbers. Not that it's going to make any difference, but when we have this meeting with the stakeholders and the property owners, we certainly want to show what the benefits are to Giant Eagle and Lowe's and Target and Great Escape, to let them know, because they're the larger box users, what benefit it would be to join in on this and put on the assessment. Now, we're able to as well waive the cost of the LA break cost, which was $150,000. So we're able to remove that cost, bringing the overall cost down. And I have one more leg of that I'm trying to get down, which would be the acquisition of any land, and trying to work through a couple, maybe 2 or 3 property owners to do that, so that we can get it perhaps maybe donated or swapping or something. I'm not quite sure how we're going to get to it. But when I first took office, Dan Stankiewicz from Chick-fil-A, he was very hot on this issue, and he continued to push, and he continued to push me, and I continued then to push everybody else to try to get to where we're at right now. So that's where we're at, and I'll keep you informed as we continue down this road. Anything else, Joe?
Yeah, no, that's all. I'm glad you brought that up. That was very good news we got from ODOT yesterday. I was prepared for them to give us the worst news and tell us that they wouldn't allow it, or that the fee to access Route 8 would be such a great cost that the project would just not be able to occur. But they gave us very good news on both of those fronts, so we're happy to hear that.
Great. Thank you. Angela?
Thank you, Mayor. We have a few upcoming programs that I'd like to announce. Our boater safety course is going to start taking place Mondays beginning February 27th. That is in conjunction with ODNR, which is the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Anybody operating a boat over 10 horsepowers and born after January 1st, 1982 is required to take this course. So we do offer it at the rec center, so I encourage people to contact us to register for that. It's a good time of year to get that out of the way before spring and summer arrive and everybody's out on the water. We do have Winter 2 swim lessons and Winter 2 swim team clinics starting February 27th. This is, again, a very popular time of year for these programs, and our attendance, participation attendance has grown significantly for our recreational swim team, which is good for us, bad sometimes for some of the patrons because they do take up more space and they take up some more time in our lap pool. We want to continue to expand, and we are looking to make some changes next year to their schedules. So we thank everybody for their patience. There's a light at the end of the tunnel because we have high school swim team going on with practice and meets, and we have our recreational swim team taking place with practice and meets this time of year, and those seasons are almost coming to an end. So again, I thank everyone for their patience, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Chip, you don't look like Tim.
No, I'm sorry, the chief's out of town this week. He did want me to bring to your attention that the Northfield Center trustees, with this redistricting that we've recently done, just approved at their trustee meeting earlier this week on Monday night that they're going to contribute 10% of their collections for EMS billing to the FAIR program. So the chief is reenacting the FAIR program. The fire education, it's a big brother or side brother to the DARE program that the police officers do. We'll do fire education and expanding that here in the future. I don't know what kind of numbers those are yet, but the chief will have that for you at the next meeting, I would think.
Thank you, Chip. Just for everyone's information, the FAIR program is an educational program that I actually started when I was mayor a long time ago, which was very similar to the DARE program. And we would put instructors into the elementary schools so that they could tell kids what they should do in the event of a fire in their home, how to drop and crawl and get out of the home properly. And we obviously over the years have dropped that program and have not put any focus on it. So we're going to go back into the schools and we're going to start that program, which I think is a very important program. And given the fact that Northfield Center is jumping on the bandwagon, we will as well hopefully see that Sagamore will, by their next meeting, do it as well. And we'll be having enough funds in that program so that we can go throughout the Nordoni Hills elementary schools and provide this service to the kids. Thank you, Chip. Chief?
The only thing I have, Mayor, is we're seeing more scams these days, more than usual, actually. Tax season's coming up, and just be careful. Don't release any of your personal information. A lot of these come through emails, and it looks like the actual email that could be whatever bank or credit card. Don't release any information, no personal stuff, no passwords. Microsoft didn't find a virus on your computer or anything like that. Don't give anything out. Call a number that you have in your own statements that you've got through the mail or whatever. So just don't give out any information.
Thank you. Mark?
As you know, Mayor, we have to work through the county and then the Ohio Secretary of State's office on the ballot language. We've been working with the county, and the language currently is that will appear on the ballot is shall the ordinance providing for a 0.5% increase on payroll profit tax for roads and park and recreation maintenance and improvements, general operations, and with the resident applied tax refund program effective July 1st, 2017 be passed. Now it's up to the Board of Elections to pass that on.
Great. Hopefully they'll get the language right and they'll get it on the ballot the right way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than putting some issue on the ballot and it's confusing to the residents when they're trying to vote on something. Okay. Any unfinished business?
Just real quick, thank you for patching the holes on Berkshire between Crowell and Shepherd, or Bedford. Done real quick. I made it that night, and the next day all those holes were fixed. Thank you.
Okay. Any other unfinished business? New business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. It's 8:03. I think this has been one of the shortest meetings I've had. Not in my lifetime, but at least